Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Ha, Rakah Kwadash Shmama. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone and the elders. Double honors to my apostle as well, Aharawan, Banyasha Allah of the Lions Den Camp here in Jacksonville, Florida. And salutations to the fellow Akim, Atwafim, and children Banyam that believe in truth and sincerity. Just a quick news update. Spiritual hydration. All right, as this happened about 4 or 5 hours ago, as we know about the conflict on Venezuela, the Ukraine with the fake peace treaties, just as well as the conflict in Taiwan. All right, America being spread out like ancient Nineveh. All right, having many battles on all fronts. All right, and we know these particular nations are a part of the BRICS alliance. All right. So they're backed by Russia, all right? As the title reads, it says, who is Delcy Rodriguez? The Venezuela vice president, Trump says, has replaced Maduro, all right? So this the news right now is that Trump pretty much has kidnapped the president, all right, the dictator that was he was the president over the people in Venezuela, Maduro, all right, or Maduro, ultimately just to put a dictator there, all right, just like they did in Taiwan. All right, Taiwan has the first female prime minister. So this is the MO, all right, the modus operandi of NATO, all right, the NATO and the EU, all right, the 7 heads and the 10 horns, that dragon that's spoken of in the scriptures, all right, that allows America to be the hammer and spearhead. And it's the spearhead of that fraction. All right. It says President Donald Trump says he understands that, and it's a quick read. Delcy Rodriguez has been sworn in Venezuela, and that Secretary of State Marco Rubio has spoken with Rodriguez, right? Because Marco Rubio was going over there in the past years, right? The politician out of Miami. Spying on those people, right? Giving intel. Trump says Rodriguez indicated she is ready to make Venezuela great again. All right, great again. All right, again, going with these notions. Start by 47. Donald Trump. All right, we spiritually believe that he's Nero, back in reincarnation. It says, following are some facts about Delcy Rodriguez, who U.S. President Donald Trump said during a press conference on Saturday was just sworn in as president of Venezuela after Nicolas Maduro was captured by the U.S. forces. Right, he was kidnapped. All right, basically. All right, and fortunately, I guess they didn't unalive him. All right, but he was kidnapped. All right, he went out in peace. He did have had like a plea. He was like kind of pleading out, hoping for a deal with Babylon, but Babylon ain't trying to make a deal. All right, they're here to rob, grape, unalive, and murder. You know. It says the Venezuelan government has not announced that Rodriguez was sworn in, and several sources told Reuters she was in Russia. Damn, that's crazy. That's crazy, man. They snatching folks. You hear me? These are these proxy wars that's going to lead up to the Big Bang, man. All right, again, Russia, Ezekiel 38. All right, Gog and Magog, they're going to be a chief to these other nations, man. And we go get a couple of scriptures, but just giving out this news update because these are some interesting times. Maybe I'm waiting on things to just happen, man. It's the beginning of this, this new year of destruction. And that's what's coming to this place, destruction. All right. So Venezuela didn't announce that she was sworn in, even though Donald Trump wanted to boast about it. All right. And it's just like you kidnapping and replacing, the leaders of the people. All right. That the people ask to be in, or the people trust to be in, as far as these foreign nations. All right, and you put your own dictator there, all right, to push the, your sinister plans, that demonocracy that you spread throughout the 4 corners of the earth, all right. The scriptures speak on how this devil is the hammer, All right, but that hammer is broken, man. But he's still moving in that same manner as if he's not. All right, he's fractured. Okay. So right here, that's a big thing, man. The Venezuela government didn't announce that Rodriguez was sworn in, and several sources told Reuters, which Reuters is a news outlet via Russia. All right, the Kremlin. They was even on the YouTube. All right, on Google, on Google's YouTube here in America until America took it off about a couple of years ago. All right. So it says, though the Russian state news agency denied the report. So they denied that she's in Russia. All right. Trump said that the U.S. would be running Venezuela in the immediate future, and that Rodriguez has said she is willing to do what we think is necessary to make Venezuela great again. Right. You know, they want to continue to take lands and name them after themselves. And we can continue on. If you want to read the article, you can go read it. This is newsnationnow.com, and there's various other articles that's coming out. But, you know, take the meat off the bone. But this one right here is particularly what I want to point out was that, you know, that Venezuela government didn't announce that she was sworn in. All right, because it's not official. All right. One of the first scriptures I want to get, Salakia, is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 50. And we can read this whole chapter pretty much, but I want to get a point in verse 22. All right, this is a quick lesson, spiritual hydration before camp. It's Jeremiah 50 and 22. A sound of battle is in the land and of great destruction. How is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? Right, this place is no longer the hammer of the earth, man, but they still moving like it. All right, we know what the Lord is coming to do pertaining to his judgments, pertaining to America. All right, Salakia, but pertaining to this place, man, this realm. All right, this third dimension. All right, this lesser, you know, and those who rule in it. All right, we know what he coming to do according to prophecy. All thus saith the Lord. So how is it cut asunder and broken? How is Babylon become a desolation among the nations, man? All right. I have laid a snare for thee, and thou art also taken, O Babylon, and thou was not aware. Thou art found and also caught, because thou hast striven against the Lord, man. All the way from the beginning of crucifying our big brother Yahushua. All right. The Lord hath opened his armory and have brought forth the weapons of his indignation, man. For this is the work of the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. All right. The Lord God of hosts. All right. Hosts meaning armies in the land of the Chaldeans, man. Those dealing in sorcery and witchcraft, right? Claiming that they trust in God, all right, a higher power, right? When the only God they trust in is gold, oil, and dollars, right? That's why Esau named his son Eliphaz, right? His son is of fine gold. That's his God, gold, oil, and dollars. All right. You know, that's ultimately how these Chaldeans get the money from the Jesuits. All right. And they play off that three-winged fraction of England, you know, of England, modern day Babylon, the daughter of Babylon, Babylon the Great, and those Zionists over there that they feed and support. Well, guess what? Russia is going to support these other nations, right? They have military surplus housed in these particular nations, so on and so forth. All right. We can get more scriptures like Isaiah 13 on the destruction of America. I wanted to get Isaiah 24. I think it was 20. I started verse 1. This is Isaiah 24, verse 1. Judgment on the earth. Behold, the Lord maketh the earth empty, and maketh it waste, and turneth it upside down, and scattereth abroad the inhabitants thereof. And it shall be as with the people, so with the priest, as with the servant, so with his master. Right? Every bird go flock to his kind. All right, so to speak. As with the maid, so with her mistress. As with the buyer, so with the seller. As with the lender, so with the borrower. As with the taker of usury, so with the giver of usury to him. The land shall be utterly emptied and utterly spoiled, for the Lord hath spoken this word. The earth mourneth and fadeth away. The world languisheth and fadeth away. And Salakia, the haughty people of the earth do languish. The earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof, right? The people that run this place in this third dimension I was speaking of. All right. You got to slip of the tongue. We got to kind of not speak too much and watch what we say while doing these lessons, because it's all thus saith the Lord. All right. So we want to back it up by scripture more so than anything. All right. I mentioned Isaiah 13. That's another, one talking on the destruction of Babylon, Babylon, all right, which the same thing as ancient Babylon would be the same thing as modern day Babylon, all right. The Lord required the things of old, right? That's why he let this place, all right, the daughter of Babylon, to tally up the wickedness, man. Pertaining to Jeremiah 51, he would have healed Babylon, but it's not going to be healed, right? But this is Isaiah 13, and I started verse 1. The burden of Babylon, which Isaiah, the son of Amos, did see. Lift ye up a banner upon the high mountain, and that's what we're doing. We establish and declare this truth and what the Lord is coming to do, and we get excited, all right, when we see the prophecies unfold and come to pass, man. Exalt the voice unto them. Shake the hand that they may go into the gates of the nobles, man. That's what we do. And this truth has entered into the gates of the nobles, man. All right, that's why they moving in haste. There's a lot of things being done on the back burner pertaining to war. All right, pertaining to the NWO, the Fourth Industrial Revolution. All right, the global reset, them setting up their RFID CHIP. All right, I have commanded, which is the Revelations 13 and verse 15. All right, the MOTB. It says Isaiah 13:3, I have commanded my sanctified ones. I have also called my mighty ones for my anger, even them that rejoice in my highness, right? The noise of a multitude in the mountains, like as of a great people, right? The noise of a multitude in the governments, again, these proxy wars, nation amongst nation. This is the sound of the battle in the land, like we started off the lesson with, But as it says in Matthew, the end is not yet. All right, because certain prophecies have to come to pass, man. We all the way to the Lord's, his last wrath, his last plagues, all right, to that last angel dealing with the Lord's seventh and last plague and wrath upon this place, all right. But the clock is ticking, And you trying to do NATO's bidding. What happened when NATO tries to replace you? And that's pertaining to 47, Kamala Harris, she's well quiet. She's sitting back real quiet. She ain't going nowhere. She got the backing of Obama and them, and he ain't leave nowhere. That's the only president that haven't left the White House after his term, if you really look at it. Bush somewhere with his feet kicked up. This guy's the only one, he had a lot to do with militarizing the forces, the regular police teeth, right? He got his hand all through FEMA, all type of stuff. All right, so what happens when they replace you? All right. So he can push that make America great again, man. The scriptures say, man, pride goeth before destruction. All right, and a haughty spirit before a fall. And the Pharaoh and his land, right? But I ended off with the book of Daniel. So like I want Daniel chapter 2 and verse 33. All right, because this is where it's going to get unbearable for America and its allies. All right, even though it's the spearhead for NATO and the EU. All right, America is, all right, the whore, her Salakia, the whore is she's almost done running her course. All right, they're getting ready to retire her. There's going to be no need for her soon. All right. And it's going into the statue of Nebuchadnezzar's dream. All right. We hold it up, sign that count, so on and so forth. And it goes all the way to the bottom at the feet. Right. The Lord describes how he's going to take it at the feet. Right. You take something at the feet, at the base, it can't stand. The foundation, it can't stand. This Daniel 2 and 31, the king's dream. And Daniel was the only one to be able to interpret it. Thou, O king, sawest, and behold, a great image. This great image, whose brightness was excellent, stood before thee, and the form thereof was terrible. This image's head was of fine gold, his breast and his arms of silver, his belly and his thighs of brass. All right, going into the different kingdoms that we went through. All right, from a ruling class people, from being stripped away from our heritage. All right, not learning our lesson from 1446 BC of the Lord freeing us from Egypt, all of us. But this time he's not going to free all of us out of this second Egypt, out of this Babylon the Great, right? So what? It went from the head of fine gold, his breast and his arms of silver, going from the different empires, the Persian and the Medes, the Babylonian Empire, right? His belly and his thighs of brass, coming into Greek and Rome. His legs of iron, his feet of part iron and miry clay. And right now we at where his feet is part iron of miry clay. The foundation is not solid. You think of the NATO fraction, the European Union and the NATO fraction of the 7 heads and the 10 horns, built off the 7 councils. All right, but focusing mainly on the 10 heads. All right, those 10 heads really are Edomite nations, Luxembourg, Lithuania, Belgium, stuff like that. You know what I mean? Those are Edomite nations. All right, so now they're willing to deal with whoever that can come and help them out. That's what's getting ready to be done. You had the mother, all right, England backing out during the time of the Brexit, which is prophecy, so on and so forth, man. So where this place is almost about to not have a leg to stand on, so to speak. All right, and this was ancient. This was a dream of an ancient, once a king that once was, man, that the Lord ultimately made a base. All right, made his kingdom a base, as he's going to make the future kingdom a base, as he was warning them in the times of old. All right, and that's what we're witnessing now, that this kingdom, all right, this present kingdom, all right, Babylon the Great, mystery Babylon, all right, is it has ran its course. All right. Verse 34, here's a point. Thou sawest till that a stone was cut out without hands, which smote the image upon his feet that were of iron and clay. Right. The stone that was cut out without hands is Yahweh Shai, the chief cornerstone. All right. And those who don't acknowledge that chief cornerstone, don't know his name, don't know his will, don't know his way, is going to get caught up in his judgments, his plagues, his wraths. Right. So what? That stone smote the image upon his feet that were of iron and clay and break them to pieces. Shalom, Habatah, detail until the next one.